This past weekend, the stacked Umebura SP10 went down in Japan, and it certainly lived up to the series' reputation in many ways. Energy, stacked brackets, but most importantly, upsets. Let's take a look at all of the mayhem that happened leading up to the top 8 of Japan's first big tournament. Real quick before we begin, I want to give a huge shout out to Rosebloom for writing the entirety of today's script. I'll link to her Twitter in the description below. There's a lot of players and upsets to cover here, so let's start with the biggest upsets and work our way down. Shulk main and top player in the Spirits game mode SSQM AA entered Umebura SP10 as the 269th seed. He made the biggest upset of the tournament by far, defeating 13th seed Kananabe 3-1 in pools for an upset factor 9 win. And while he wasn't able to carry the momentum much further in bracket, it was still an impressive win. Tech-heavy Ice Climbers player Sin, already sporting an incredible list of wins like Shuton, Atelier, and Yaman Action, was able to get another by defeating top Ness main Gact in a huge 3-0 upset. He followed it up by defeating Rob main Ryuk before falling to Lee and Harisen for 65th place. One of the event's biggest stories was Rosalina and Luma main Ocha. He upset top DK Falco Robert Kakusu to make it out of pools, and then was able to defeat Ko main in an upset factor 4 win, before taking his most impressive win of the entire bracket, a 3-0 victory over Apollo Kage for an upset factor of 7. He then defeated Rari Kakusu again in the run back before falling to Yara for an impressive 33rd. Snake main Nerisan made a surprisingly deep run as the 460th seed, losing early to Akakikusu but then defeating Tekera in an upset factor 7 win, Matara in an upset factor 6, French Zelda Alltech for an upset factor 4, and top Olimar Kyopon in another upset factor 4, placing 49th. Snake main Ike was able to make one of the biggest upsets of the tournament with an upset factor 6 3-0 over Apollo Kage, defeating both AK's Steve and his Snake. Although Ike wasn't able to get any further in bracket, it was a remarkable win for one of the country's best Snake mains. The world's best Banjo and Kazooie, Toriguri, added to his incredible list of top placings with a 13th here as well, defeating Zamba in an upset factor 6, Snow, top Isabel Roki, and K-Roll main Ball. And yet it's certain this is nowhere near the low tier hero's peak. We're sure to see him reach even greater heights in the future. Two players visiting from America made impressive runs that we don't see often from them. Cosmos was able to incredibly defeat Tsubaki and Dio, both big upsets for a solid 17th place, a return to form for the Aegis player after a string of underperformances. Sheik main Void lost to Akola relatively early and then took wins over Ouch, Shirayuki, Lai, Chicken, and Natsu to also place 17th, massively outplacing his seed of 65. Returning from a very long break from competition, Young Link main Nukoru almost made the biggest upset of the tournament, taking top Luigi Rarukun to a Game 3. But after losing to Rarukun, he went on an impressive losers run, defeating Steve Minmin Avaru in an upset factor 4, Rob main Saboten in an upset factor 6, and Bowser Jr. main Arupusu in an upset factor 3 for a final placing of 129th as the 985th seed. Samus main Mona, entering the event as a practical unknown, made a surprise breakout run. He started off by defeating top Meta Knight Joker player Comp in an upset factor 6 win before following it up with an upset factor 4 win over Pac-Man main Tenpi and another upset factor 6 win over Lucas Himopicho, an upset factor 5 win over Cloud main Niji Nobori, and an upset factor 4 over Pikachu main Menbo. He finally lost to Wine, placing 97th as the 1160th seed, an insane overperformance of seeding. Aegis main Yu, hailing from the Philippines, was able to make a strong run in Japan. He defeated Akasa's Cloud in an upset factor 5, then defeated Incineroar main Messia for a final placing of 65th. Umebura's T.O., Umeki, made an incredible run to 9th place. Japan's best Daisy defeated Neitoru, Seika, Gaosan, and most impressively Yoshidora in an upset factor 5 before falling to Ken and Yara in a tragic reverse 3-0 for a 9th place finish. Another good placing for the Daisy's resume. He's never had a good run in Ultimate, but everyone knows his runs in a different Smash title. Amsa, meaning Roy in Ultimate, was able to take upset victories over fellow Roy main Shaw in an upset factor 4 and Duck Hunt main Katamari in an upset factor 5 before losing to Yakuru for a 193rd. An impressive run from Japan's best melee player. Falco main Motsunabe made one of the biggest upsets on his own run to 17th, defeating Hedo 3-2 for an upset factor 4, as well as defeating top Greninja Leah and French Samus Spectral. Top Wi-Fi Mewtwo, AOK Mewtwo, attending his first offline bracket, was able to make some waves after falling to the tournament's #1 seed, Akola, in Winners Round 2. He defeated Brawler main Natan in an upset factor 4 and Min Min Falco Space to make it out of pools in an upset factor 3, then defeated ZSS main Q for another upset factor 4 before losing to another one of the bracket's big stories, Wario main Ama. Ama made a big surprise run at Umebura, outplacing his 209th seed by making top 48. He defeated Chicken's Diddy in an upset factor 4 and Min Min Steve Rimu in an upset factor 3, making his way to an amazing 33rd after losing to Shirayuki. Link main Rito, returning to offline competition after a year-long break, was able to upset his final pool Meiki to make it out of winners, before making a big upset over Takara in an upset factor 4. He wasn't able to carry the momentum any further, but this is only the beginning of the offline return of one of Japan's best. Wi-Fi Kazuya main Kabanga, attending his first offline bracket, was able to make some upsets as an unseeded player. After losing round 2 to Motsunabe, he made it out of pools with an upset factor 3 victory over Akashi's Wolf and an upset factor 4 win over Wataru's Bowser. Rob main Kuroponzu was able to have a good performance here after several mediocre tournaments, taking an upset factor 6 win over Dio's Snake and an upset factor 4 win over Roki's Isabel, giving him a solid placement of 25th. Snake main Q, doing impressively here after prior strong results at locals, took an upset factor 4 win over Senra and an upset factor 3 win over Kome for a phenomenal 25th place. The second best Sonic in Japan, often forgotten and overshadowed by Ken, Taikei made a strong run to 17th place, only losing to Mia and Alice and defeating level 1 in an upset factor 3, Ike, and Nickname, while benefiting from Ike's 3-0 upset over Apollo Kage. Following up his incredible second place at Seibugeki 16 the weekend prior, Gachipi had another amazing tournament here, placing 25th as the 62nd seed and defeating French Palutena Raflo for an upset factor 3, Harasen, Sasusoro, and Rirlet. Japan's best Simon, Trigger, was able to make an incredible run to 33rd as the 90th seed, winning an upset factor 3 over Ryuo and defeating Alice's Roy. Wi-Fi Min Min Kabocha, with some strong results online, attending his first offline tournament, was able to make a run here at Umebura. He defeated Cloud main Takoman for an upset factor 4, Ryoga's Duck Hunt in an upset factor 3, and Aegis main Hisao for another upset factor 3, placing 129th as the 873rd seed. Yoshi main Rotsuku, known as one of the country's best Yoshis pre-quarantine, had a strong showing at Umebura. He was able to defeat Captain L in an upset factor 4 win, then French Steve main Susu in an upset factor 3, finally placing 129th after a Game 5 loss to Leaf. Cloud main Kuribon was able to defeat strong opponents, making upsets over Yakuru, Korin's Bare Feet Beautiful Legs drill, and French Zelda Altec, the last being an upset factor 3. Possibly the biggest story of the tournament was the comeback from Young Link main Suinoko. After mediocre performances for the majority of 2023, he starts 2024 off with a bang, defeating Ike, Nietono, Tet, Motsunabe, Lax, and Trigger to place 13th as the 75th seed, an absurd outperformance of expectations. Keep an eye on this Young Link. He's back as one of the world's best. Roy main Alice continued to cement his claim for Japan's best Roy with a solid 13th place finish, defeating Tamapi Daifuku, Ryuo, Taikei, and Goryoka en route. Seeded 39th, it's a great performance from the top Roy main. Finally, Japan's best hero, Akikikusu, made his way to 17th place as the 53rd seed, taking impressive wins on Naocha, Rarukun, Kuroponzu, Mao, and Ball along the way. He's sure to continue being a top-level threat this year, as he has for a long time. With so many breakout performances, comeback stories, and runs out of nowhere at Umebura SP10, it'll be exciting to see if those successes translate over to this weekend's Kowloon 9 with Sumabato, which has many of the same players attending. Will Ocha follow up their crazy Umebura run with another at Kowloon? Will Apollo Kage be able to reach the top cut this time? Will Gachipi have another strong run? Only time will tell. That's going to be it for today's video. Before I go, shout out goes to my patrons Seth Laster, Frosco333, Logan S, Percy Palm, and my Tuesday patrons Iltas and Diamond Blaze. Additionally, shout out my YouTube members Stormtrooper, Lokosoko, Diarrhea, DTR Jr., Defective, Varangabank, Fana, Boston R, Iltas, and my tier 2 members Mike G and Wu-Tang Forever. Additionally, extra special thanks goes to my tier 3 patron Ocean Man, who says, Mr. Mice, sorry for playing Min Min. Tune in for tomorrow's video, but until then, I've been Mr. Mice, and thank you all so very much for watching.